I think we're ready to start here.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. And we're glad that you're here. And you have tuned in to an introductory piece on best practices in workforce development. And this particular webinar is entitled 3 Factors Essential to Comprehensive Services. And so as we get started, the first thing we're going to do is to take a look at the word comprehensive, and we're going to do a definition here. And as we do, as we take a look at defining comprehensive, we know that it is defined as a large scope involving much inclusiveness. It is having a thorough understanding and an exclusive mental grasp of a subject. And so the word comprehensive is involved and inclusive. And so what does that look like as far as workforce development is concerned? And so as we attach this definition, comprehensive services, to workforce development, it is actually a wide range of information. And what it actually does, it requires that this extensive mental grasp causes you to think outside of the box. It goes beyond the norm, and it does allow you to operate with the sense of excellency, because you're looking to address every aspect in workforce development, and you are looking to make sure that you are excelling in what you do. So the concept of comprehensive services actually sets your program apart from the rest. It's what makes you more visible, and it is what makes you certainly attractive to funders, and it causes you to stand out in your community because of the outcomes that you provide. And so what we want to do in this video is we want to, as we talk about comprehensive services, we're going to look at embedding it into the very fabric of operational management, because that's where it has to begin. It has to be woven through the very fabric of how you operate as an operational manager, and how this strategy is passed on, and it is visibly seen and actively initiated through your workforce development program, through your actions, and through your staff. And so as we actually go into the webinar, the first concept of comprehensive services and having it embedded into your operation management starts with the goal of livable wages. And so livable wages should be the end goal of any workforce development program, because when you're working with low income and disadvantaged individuals, the reality is the work that we make available to them in terms of providing some type of job readiness or preparedness training, some type of vocational training, job placement. The reality is most job placement for individuals who have been on some type of subsidy or who have little to no skills will more than likely result in being placed in jobs roughly $10 to $12 an hour. And while that's a good start for people who've never worked, the true fact is it is difficult to live off of $10 to $12 an hour. especially when you think about people who've been on some type of subsidies, if you've had some food subsidies, if you've had some rental subsidies, if you've even been on welfare, leaving from subsidized assistance to an actual job will still find you in a position where you are in need. And so, again, if you are thinking long term in terms of helping individuals, and if you're thinking about the larger picture, your goal is not just a job, your goal should be livable wages. So let's get into this. As we look at comprehensive services from an operational perspective, your goal should be to take a look at the community that you're serving. So you want to do research on your population group. And so it is very important for you to have some type of background information. Most local governments conduct what they consider a GIS reporting. And in this research, it's typically done every year. They use it for taxation purposes. They use it to redraw district lines, and for economic development, a number of different reasons this GIS report is done. But what it also does, it provides you information on communities. And so it divides specific communities into certain sections. It identifies the population according to crime rate, or rather it divides communities according to crime rate, high school completion rate, the demographics, the income rate, the poverty rate. All of these are critical factors that will help you if you are beginning to put together plans for workforce development programs, or if you're looking to revamp, restructure, or change your population group. So it is extremely important as we explore this concept of comprehensive services that you know who your population group. So your next factor, so in identifying rather population groups, there are a number of different groups of individuals that workforce development programs serve, all of which are eligible, or rather, they bring some type of federal funding to those individuals. And so let's take a look at this. So we know that you can have the youth or the adult programs, and there are a number of different programs that serve youth and adults. There are federally funded programs. There are agricultural. The Agriculture Department has federally funded programs. Human Services departments have federally funded programs. So you want to tap into that. Again, a part of your research, both in your community and just nationally. The next aspect is WIA-focused individuals. So WIOA, we'll talk quite a bit about WIOA in our online course, but even here, WIA-focused population groups typically run into three factors. They are your adults, that being your low income and disadvantaged adults. There are your dislocated adults, individuals who've been laid off or who have lost their jobs for a number of reasons, or for those who probably have incidentally individuals who've never worked and just entering into the workforce. Could be individuals who are housewives and for some reason they are needing to come into the workforce. So we have adult dislocated, the low income disadvantaged, and then your youth adults, typically 16 to 25. Again, quite a bit of funding that's there, so you certainly want to take advantage of that. You want to explore that as an option for your population group. Criminal justice focus. Should you want to look at serving individuals who are having extreme challenges in trying to find jobs? the criminal justice focus. The criminal justice population is certainly a population that you want to take a look at. Again, from federal funds available to that. But with each one of these population groups, it is again extremely important that you are comprehensive in your research and your study, and you know the challenges that these individuals face, and that you also know the services that are available to these individuals. Not just human services, but some specialized programs, because that only enhances your workforce development program. And then there are the homeless focus. Individuals who are homeless, there are many programs across the United States that are working with homeless individuals. And homeless individuals certainly run the gamut. They could be from those who may have had some physical or psychological issues, to those who just, for a number of unfortunate circumstances, found themselves homeless. We know of communities where individuals actually live in their cars, go to work every day, come home, live in their cars. So there are certainly programs that take a look at all of these factors, and they make the decision to serve the homeless, and they work with a host of different organizations to support that. I had the opportunity to manage a homeless program, and we were able to address many of the challenges that the homeless individuals face, and at the same time provide the training. So this is definitely a population group that you can work with, and certainly find the outcomes that are necessary for you to be successful in your goals with these individuals. Another population group are the LEP population, or the limited English proficiency, so to speak. Again, there are numerous funds available for serving this population group, and there are quite a bit of support groups that lend the education support, the networking that's needed. So if this is a population group that you're looking to serve, again, your research on your population, research on your community, knowing who these individuals are. The next group, of course, to take a look at is the vocational rehabilitation individuals. And so there is a vocational rehabilitation requirement for all WIA funded programs. In other words, any contractor who is any city, state, local WIP who actually receive federal funding, it's mandated that they must have partnership with vocational rehab, because there is, we of course, federally funded program does not permit nor allow for discrimination, and to not allow these individuals into the program would certainly give that impression. So here, one of the first and most important factors in taking a look at comprehensive services is to do the research on your community, identify your population group, and know that you have all of the information that's necessary based on the population group that you're looking to serve. And even as you get started, continue to seek to expand your knowledge, continue to seek to perfect the service that you're providing to your participants, and make sure that you're exploring every aspect of comprehensive services. Okay, the next piece that we want to take a look at for you in embedding this concept into your operational piece is to take a look at policies and procedures. So again, you've identified that you want to, you're looking to have comprehensive services. And we know that it has to be embedded into the very fabric of what you're doing. So it only makes sense to have it woven and identified throughout policies and procedures. And so the first thing you want to take a look at is what is your structure? How are you putting together your program? And so as we do that, we take a look at structure. And so the question is, are you setting yourself up as a program that is housed within local government, as most programs really have some connection with workforce development, particularly those that are funded through your local government, through your federal government, or through your state government? So are you setting yourself up to be a 501(c)(3), where you are a spin out of the local government, or are you looking to stay housed in your local city or in your local county? And if so, what does that structure look like? And so it's very important that you identify that clearly for business purposes. And more importantly, as you are seeking, or as funders may have an interest in what you do. And so it's clear, it is important that you have some clarity on that. The next factor that we want to take a look at is your directives for operating. And so what does that look like? In your policies and procedures, you want to take a look at outreach and recruitment. You want to take a look at job readiness. How about workshops, training, and retraining? All of these are just basic in terms of how you as a workforce development program operates. And so this clearly should be identified in your policies and procedures, how you expect your staff to function, how you expect your program to operate, what would you do to address challenges along the line? How do you incorporate partnerships even as you are moving ahead? So it's very important that you're clear and identifying ways that you can be more inclusive and ways that you can exhaust as much knowledge as possible, or embrace as much knowledge as possible once you are putting together your policies and procedures. Your next factor is looking at your staffing and contracting with your partners, and what does that relationship looks like? And so again, we're looking at being inclusive. And so for your staffing, you want to make sure that this concept of being comprehensive and inclusive, so to speak, you want to make sure that this is clearly understood by your staff. So what your staff looks like certainly is dependent upon your funding. You obviously would have a program manager, you would have other inside staff, your outside staff, or your people who would be the individuals who are actually the first face of your organization, the case managers. And so you want to make sure that the strategy of comprehensive services is identified with your staffing. Or you may be contracting. You may offer or do RFPs or have some type of partnerships with individuals outside of your direct program. But at any rate, since you have determined that it's important to be as inclusive, and it's important to make sure that that you provide optimal service, you're thinking outside the box, you're looking for this, you're seeking this level of excellency, you want to make sure, again, in your policies and procedures, that you provide this concept of comprehensive services. The next factor is in your policies and procedures, you want to identify your expenditure usage. Unfortunately, this is a challenge for many workforce development programs for a number of different reasons. Um, they have gotten off program. I've witnessed that with many programs where they may have not been as attentive to expenditure usage as possible. And these are key points simply because all programs should and most likely will be audited at some point. So you want to make sure that you're aware of your expenditure usage. We'll talk a little bit about that more in the next slide. And not just the expenditure usage for program managers, but more specifically, again, how you set your program up, how you function, your directives for operating, all of that is key simply because as case managers, they're more than likely are vendors that the case managers will have access to based on the funding. There's certainly job training opportunities where individuals will be enrolled into specific training programs. And to complement the training that's done, there are often support services. And so, again, how you manage your expenditures and how that's done should be clearly identified within your policies and procedures, and to make sure that you're using the best approaches and you're using the best options that are available. We'll talk a little bit more about leveraging resources because that's something also that should be taken into consideration. And then the next factor, verification of usage. This is somewhat of a checks and balance approach for programs as a whole. As you're starting out, and even as you're operating now, and you're recognizing that you've encountered some challenges in your program, it's often good to just go back and look to see where the gaps are. And if you have issues as far as expenditure usage, you may want to go back and look and see, do you have a verification approach as a part of your policies and procedures? Because that could be the very gap that you are missing. So having clear policies and procedures that are often made available through your operational piece is something that's extremely important. Again, it helps you with being able to have this comprehensive approach embedded into the fabric of what you do. Okay, I just wanted to stop a second. We had a few, I wanted to check with my team. Yes. Okay. Okay. We're good. Okay. So now we're going to take a look at the second part of making sure that you have your administrative piece embedded into your operational factors. And that is partnerships. So there's an old adage that says no man is an island. And so the same goes for any workforce development program. These are all of the partnerships that should definitely be taken into consideration. And as we take a look at this, the premise of what is identified here is a community-driven strategy. Remember, we talked about doing your research. You want to take a look at local government, local, state, and federal government. You want to identify chambers of commerce, the educational entities, public schools, colleges and universities, and other training entities, economic development agencies, temporary staffing agencies, other employment and training agencies, employers, and churches. And so some people may look at that and think, you know, that's just, that may not be necessary. But remember, your goal is comprehensive services, okay? And having comprehensive services, your loyalty or your commitment is to your community. And since you have a commitment to your community, your goal should be to embrace your community. That's the essence of having a community-driven strategy. So you want to know everything you need to know as far as what's helpful to you as a workforce development program from your local government, your local, state, and federal government. They only enhance what you do. They are only able to, they can only be an asset, because oftentimes I talk about this aspect in my course, how local government actually is the arm that's extended from many federally funded programs that support what you do. And oftentimes local government through their own budgeting piece may seek to have an additional aspect of workforce development program. But you should get to know your folks in local government. They should know who you are, and you should have close connection with them, because it is those department managers, elected officials that will only bring support to you. And so it's imperative that you, as a workforce development program, find some kind of way to work with your local, state, and federal government. The advantage of working with your federal government, apart from your local government through grant opportunities, that's certainly an asset. But even in applying for grants, you want the buy-off on your local government, because you need letters of support, and you need information that oftentimes your local government will only be able to provide for you through your grant application. Chambers of commerce, certainly an asset. Oftentimes people take a look at chambers of commerce and they think that chambers of commerce are only for the larger corporation. Unfortunately, that's not true, because smaller organizations also want to be able to tap into the assets and all of the benefits that chambers of commerce make available. So oftentimes chambers of commerce may have some funding as well to either enhance what you're doing or to partner with you in some kind of way to address shortages of skilled workers in specific areas. So chambers of commerce, extremely important. Entities, your educational entities, your colleges, universities, all of those are assets. You should, in your approach for being comprehensive, I talk about this also in my online course. There is a skills gap. And so for you as workforce development practitioners and workforce development professionals, it is imperative that you look to see how you can fill that gap and how you can address those gaps that are happening that unfortunately are getting wider and wider because of a number of different things that are happening in our nation, most of them being politics. So chambers of commerce, your educational entities, economic development agencies. Again, we talk about the critical partnership of economic development agencies in our workshop, in our online course as well. Temporary staffing agency, those are extremely important. And a lot of workforce development agencies I think are overlooking this as a key piece. And so I'll give you a tip here. And so one of the reasons temporary staffing agencies are important is if you can develop an effective partnership with the staffing agency who will agree to work with you and a certain employer who may have a specific need for individuals who are trained, then you can work with that staffing agency. They'll take care of all of the wage rate and all of the other pieces. And you give your individuals a chance to find some type of employment. So there's a way that can be done, and it certainly is an asset to you. It helps to strengthen your partnership with employers. Employers find people that that they feel pretty good about and are willing to hire those individuals. That's a feather in your cap. So other employment and training agencies, again, no particular agency. It should be a standalone. Again, the old adage, no man is an island. You want to link together, you want to network together. So you should work with other employment and training agencies. I talk about this in my course as well. Employers, that's a no-brainer. You certainly want to have employers a part of your community-driven strategy and a part of your whole partnership piece. And churches, again, those are extremely important in looking at how you can be comprehensive in either creating your program, enhancing your program, restructuring your program, or in addressing gaps that your program you've not thought about. Again, you're trying to be inclusive, you're thinking outside the box. Okay. The second factor in addressing comprehensive services is comprehensive tracking. So for those of you who are federally funded, the most important question that funders ask you is, tell me about your tracking. How do you track your clients? And so it is extremely important to have a user-friendly system where you are tracking people, but more than anything else, you want an effective system. So I say having a robust management information system is critical. And so what does this robust management information system do? Well, let's see. It tracks all client enrollment data. So that's everything that you have about your clients, So you're talking about all the demographic information, all the background information, all of the services that you will provide for them. So it's things like tracking your service dates, the time that you enroll them, the date that you enrollment, the times that you interact with them. Again, we're talking expenditures, all of your case notes, all of the achievements, all of the exits. All of this information can and should be placed into this MIS system. Other things to place into the MIS system are your job placement, your retention. And your retention typically should start out at 3, 6 months, 9 and 12 months. Retention, you want to make sure that as far as retention goes, as the adage goes, the hardest thing about getting a job is keeping a job. And so that's a factor that's notated, I think, across all workforce development agencies and across industries. Turnover is the highest expense that most employers have. So it is important that individuals are retained in jobs. And I talk a little bit more about retention and job placement in my online courses as well. So I want to make sure that you definitely get that course. Yeah, so we want to take a look at, so you continues the continuing with comprehensive tracking. After you've done your job placement, you've made sure that they are placed in jobs, you have some retention progress going forward. And why is this important? Because you should be providing quarterly and annual reports. That should be done by your program manager. And so what your program manager should be able to do is to, from the information that's entered into the MIS system, that should allow a program manager and or a case manager to look at their efforts and to look to see what they've done within a month, look what they've done within a quarter. And so from these reports, you should be able to determine quite a bit of information. It depends on the query that you would use to search this information. Say you wanted to know how many people have I enrolled within a specific quarter into my introduction to information technology course. And so that system, your MIS system, should be able to give you identification and a list of all the individuals that are enrolled into that training. The same concept, how many individuals have completed the training. It can be for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. Or if you want to know how many people are placed in jobs in that sector, that information should be, the MIS information should provide that as well. And so having a robust system is essential. Again, tracking, this is something that has been a challenge for workforce development programs, because your inability to track individuals will certainly cause you problems all along the way. If you lose clients as a result of a number of different activities, if you cannot find clients, all of this is a clear indication of your tracking ability. All of this is all of this is an indication of your, hold on one second, I'm getting some questions. I just want to make sure that that I'm answering this. I apologize for that. So your tracking is essential. And it's a telltale sign as to where your problems lie. And so the other thing that your MIS does, so we know you can provide your quarterly and annual reports by your program manager. The next factor is that, and the most important factor is your tracking, MIS system rather, provides the checks and balances for you. So it helps you to know when you're having problems. Let me give you an example of that. If you have an MIS system that's identified as a checks and balance screen, that screen can tell you that you may be missing the wage that an individual received once they started their job. And so once you have individuals who are placed in jobs, you certainly want to put all of that information there. You want to put the name of the company, the wage rate, the address, a number of different information. Well, if you forgot that, and you forgot, say, a start date of another individual's, or you forgot the retention for an individual who's been on the job for 6 months, all of these queries accumulate. They become checks and balances for you, so that for your case manager who's looking at her MIS system 2, 3, 4 times a week, at the end of the week, and when she checks that, she can say, oh, I've got problems. I need to go back and put that in. And so this checks and balances concept actually helps you so that um, you won't be behind. And so it anticipates problems that you may have by reminding you of what you need to do as far as making sure that you are comprehensive in tracking your individuals and that you are able to clearly stay abreast of what's happening, or rather the program managers stay abreast of what's happening with all of the case managers, and the case managers stay abreast of what's happening with all of the clients that she has enrolled into her system or into her cases. So the next aspect of the comprehensive tracking is this whole budgeting piece. And so as I've identified budgeting as the title, but it doesn't necessarily, we won't necessarily talk about all aspects of the budget. And so why do I put budgeting in here? Unfortunately, many programs are challenged with being being up to date and being fiscally savvy and making sure that they're aware at all times things that happen within their budget. And so as we take a look at this, we see three factors here. We see fixed and variable costs. And so there are fixed costs that could be, your rent, the utilities, all of the costs that you pay for your overhead. Your variable costs can be, and certainly your fixed would be your staff costs. Your variable costs would be programmatic, okay? So you're looking at your training costs, you're looking at your support services costs. And so it is extremely important that you as a case manager are aware and knowledgeable of the budget that you have set aside for each one of your clients. Case in point, if you're serving 50 clients and you have a budget of X amount of dollars for training and X amount of dollars for support services, you certainly want to make sure that you are aware, you're accountable, and that your costs are in alignment with the policies and procedures that have been identified for you. And so, again, you want to make sure that you address your costs and stay in line. And at all times, I emphasize this, a case manager should know as much as possible at all times where they stand in terms of their expenditures. And the next factor is that because budgeting is so important, it provides the opportunity for all of us as practitioners to address the very concept of not knowing where we stand, so to speak, or it helps us to make sure that we don't drop the ball, for a lack of a better term. As I mentioned again, budgeting is extremely important, and knowing those key pieces can either cause your program to have problems, or it can certainly be one where your program is recognized for its excellency. So the next factor in terms of the comprehensive services piece is your staff of case managers. So in hiring case managers, rather, it is extremely important that you hire people who are knowledgeable of the very aspect of what workforce development um, is about and what workforce development has to offer through community service. Your case managers are your best marketing strategy. I often say your case managers can either break a program or make a program. Most often, case managers um, are visible in the community, they're knowledgeable, and um, they they will also provide the reputation for your program that you really want to have. And so, if you have case managers that are going beyond the scope, if you have case managers that are just somewhat mediocre, you don't want your program to be known as mediocre. So you want to make sure that you have case managers that are knowledgeable. And for those who are just marginal, you want to provide the support and you want to provide um, the expertise that they need to make sure that they're aware of, what they need to do to be successful. So, what does that mean? If you have a case manager who is not knowledgeable, let's just say WIOA. And so you've hired them, they understand, basically how do you enroll clients, you do the outreach. And so you want to bring that case manager up to par. So you want to make sure that they know every aspect of what WIA does, how it impacts your program, and how it can be an asset to what your program has to offer and to your clients. So again, you want to make sure that they're connected to the workforce community. You want them to know what's new and what's available and what can enhance your program. And so again, if you have clients that are new if you have workforce development case managers who are again relatively new, you want to make sure that they are working and finding what's available through your community and technical colleges, who often have many types of program that they can tap into. You want to make sure that they are connected to the many workshops that are that are available. So you certainly want to embrace the concept of additional knowledge for your case manager. That's all a part of what you do as in terms of providing a comprehensive services. You want to make sure that your case managers are knowledgeable of WIOA and that they understand the importance of co-enrolling. And so we know that co-enrolling is extremely important because, again, it's an opportunity to work and to take advantage of community-driven approaches. There are many programs out there that are available, and they have funding for training. They have funding for support services. You have case managers that can work with other employment and training programs so that both programs can get credit for the service. It's only an asset to you. It's certainly a resource to you. So you want to make sure that your clients that your case managers rather, are taking advantage of this and are using this concept of comprehensive services in their everyday work. Okay, so again, you want to make sure that they're resourceful and that they take advantage of the specialized services for this specialized group of individuals. So what does that mean? So say you're serving adults, and coming into your program could be an individual who has a criminal justice background. And so this criminal justice background would impede him from being able to go into specific types of training, because some types of training have different requirements as far as felonies or certain offenses are concerned. However, if you are working with your with the city or county funded criminal justice employment and training program, it's only to your advantage to have a dual enrollment there. So they have identified certain sectors that these individuals can provide, can go into training for. They have some type of support services. And so this dual enrollment is an asset to your client. And it allows you to serve them so that you won't have to turn that client around. The same thing if you have another client who's a veteran. And so certainly you can serve veterans, but what we know about serving veterans today in workforce development programs is that veterans programs have a host of different funds that are available. So it is only to your advantage and certainly to your asset to connect with the veterans program for that particular client. So again, you want to make sure that your case managers have the knowledge, have the experience, and they tap into all of these community resources and address that for your clients. You want to make sure that your case managers should certainly leverage their funds, things like childcare, transportation, and work tools. Now, most programs will have some type of support services, and so that's somewhat given. You want to provide your clients with these, because these are the most common barriers that individuals face in trying to become employed. Oftentimes, they're single mothers, they don't have childcare. Individuals are challenged with transportation, and even if there is training, if there's payment for the training, oftentimes, depending on the sector, most likely the construction sector, carpentry, any aspect of construction, or any aspect of environmental training, these types of sectors require specific tools. And so as you are developing your program, as you're consistently looking to enhance and to expand your knowledge to be inclusive and comprehensive, you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of leverage funds. And so again, that's wisdom in terms of being able to monitor your expenditures and making sure that you are aware and able to partner with different programs and take advantage of the services that they provide. The other factor that experienced case managers should do is, as we talked about earlier, livable wage, they should work with clients to implement what's known as an individual action plan. Some programs call them IEP, individual employment plan. Same thing. The goal is to look at short, medium, and long range goals. So again, we know getting a job is the easy part. If we're looking to make sure that we're effective and implementing comprehensive services, we want to move past just getting a job. We want to look at opportunities where individuals stay in jobs. They're retained 3, 6, 9, 12 months. And in that retention of 3, 6, 9, 12 months, what do we have in place, and what do we have as a medium range goal and a long range goal to get them to move from that, to get them to move into what we call wage progression opportunities? Because we want to not only get people jobs who are unemployed, um, workforce development program also have the opportunity to address poverty as far as these communities are concerned, because most workforce development programs are housed and they see that as a need to address poverty. We talk a little bit more too about that in our online course, and it's just important to make sure that we look at a number of different factors to address individuals becoming self-sufficient, to address individuals becoming achieving livable wage goals, and to implement a number of different strategies for success. Okay. The next factor that we want to take a look at, and in terms of the requirements and experience of the case managers, is they have the responsibility of job placement, job retention. Again, we talked about that being 3, 6, 9, 12 months. The end result of what case managers do is this, you know. Aside from the enrollment, aside from the assessment, aside from the ongoing communication, the end result is job placement, job retention at 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. So again, there are many key pieces, many steps that are in line before individuals get to this. But this is the end goal initially. But the prize is livable wage, achieving self-sufficiency. So as we kind of take a look at where we go from here, and take a summary of what we're talking about, the goal is you're looking to embrace comprehensive services, and being thorough, and being inclusive, and embracing all the key factors that help you become begins by being embedded into your policies and procedures. And so you, as operation managers and people who are on the very forefront of beginning or to create established programs, are people who are looking for ways to reshape and restructure and to enhance your program. This has to be embedded in your policies and procedures. And as it is embedded into your policies and procedures, it has to be enforced through your operational management piece. And so this means having a hands-on approach, particularly for those individuals who are having challenges, for those organizations who are having challenges and are experiencing problems. You have to have a hands-on approach. You have to identify where the gaps are. You must identify where your problems are. And once you do that, then it's real easy to look to see how you address, how you resolve those problems. And then the next piece is to ensure that it's enforced through your case management staff. And so again, remember, your case managers are your people who can either make or break your program. They actually set the reputation for your program. So as your case managers are doing their part, what their part should be is a reflection of everything that you've incorporated through your policies and procedures, that's been mandated through your operational management, that's executed through your case management staff. And then our last piece is one where you will see the manifestation of successful outcome. So we have actually come to an end here, and I would like the opportunity to just thank you. My This short webinar, again, it is the introductory phase of the online course for best practices in workforce development. I have developed this course through my over 20 years experience in working as a workforce development operations manager. I have had the opportunity to work with numerous organizations and to develop systems to ensure that programs work together, talk together, and are able to provide the successful outcomes. I've had the opportunity to work with the local governments, community and technical colleges, uh, employers, other employment and training programs, um, chambers of commerce, um, trade unions, a number of different organizations, because all of these are critical in making sure that you address systems. And in addressing systems, as we work with low income and disadvantaged people, the challenge, the challenge itself uh, of coming in and asking for help, or coming in and being mandated to come in and ask for help, that is in itself a large challenge. And so uh, the goal of workforce development programs should be to have systems, a seamless systems, so that individuals won't have to jump out of one particular service organization and jump into another. But if you can have seamless systems which are incorporated through partnerships that are a part of a comprehensive strategy, that makes your program a lot more effective. And so again, I've had the expertise of doing that. Um, in managing workforce development program. I've had the expertise of working as a consultant and working with programs to address their particular needs and to look at the challenges that they've had, to look at the problems and providing solutions. And so, again, this this is something I have to say that I love. And because I love it, I certainly want to pass it on to other individuals. And this course, with reference to addressing comprehensive services, is only an introduction of the online course that I've created entitled Best Practices for Workforce Development. So there is a link that you can click on and gain access to my online course. And I believe that it will provide you everything that you need to be successful and to ensure that that you have everything that you need to take your program to the next level. The comprehensive services is, again, the bedrock and the foundation of what you do. And so, again, I say thank you, and I'll stop now and see if there are any questions. Okay, I see one question coming in. Okay, so one of the factors is one of the questions is, how long is this course available? And so once you purchase the course is yours. And so you have opportunity, you have access to these courses as long you desire. So there is, it's your course. And so you certainly want to make sure that you are, you use this course. And I say, the beautiful thing about this is that you can take this course and you can make it your best practices. Okay, let's see, there's another question. Okay. So yes, so someone says, so there's a question in terms of um, what happens if the course is not what I want. We would never want you to be unsatisfied, and so what we say is that um, there is a 30-day refund available. If after 30 days you feel like the course is not what you want, that refund is available to you. Okay. I don't see any other questions. Well, I would like to thank you. I told you guys that um, on our marketing material, we said we would go from 2 to 3, and so we're a little bit over that. We may have started maybe a few minutes late, but we're a little bit over that. So the good news about this is that you will be able to take a look at this again. There's a link that will allow you to do so. And for attending the course, we are giving you an ebook on the comprehensive services. So make sure that you sign the link below that you can gain access to the ebook. And if there are no more questions, I again thank you for attending. I certainly look forward to connecting with you. And I encourage you again to go to the link and purchase the course. It's an amazing course. And if you have any questions, you certainly can feel free to follow up with me via my email address. So again, thank you and goodbye.